Welcome to the Mom Please podcast, the #1 generation-spanning show that discusses all the latest issues in modern society, with your millennial host, Eric Joseph, along with baby boomer representative and co-host, Carol Strand. Join us as we delve into what's going on in the world today and discuss how to bridge the aisle to find common ground. And now, for this week's episode of Mom Please. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mom Please, the discussion and debate show that spans generations and tries to make sense of everything going on in modern society. I am your host, representing the millennials, Eric Joseph, and I am joined by my lovely baby boomer co-host, Carol Strand. How are you today, Mom?
I'm great. As you all know, Eric and I are mother and son, and we like to have lots of conversations about different topics. We don't always agree, but we do like to keep it civil. So today's topic is none other than artificial intelligence. And no, I'm not talking about your friends who are dumb. I'm talking about computer-generated intelligence.
Okay. Very, very interesting. And, you know, it's a very, very curious topic because it has gone from something that we just really were talking about in maybe like movies and films. You know, you used to think that AI was that thing that would take over the planet, or maybe Haley Joel Osment. We had like AI, we had the Terminator films, that movie Her, and all the way back in the 1960s even they were thinking about this with 2001: A Space Odyssey. So AI used to be something that was science fiction, but around 2010, things really started to shift, and it became a real thing in today's society.
Right. You know, Haley Joel Osment in that famous artificial intelligence movie, I mean, really, isn't that just an update of the Pinocchio movie where he wants to be a real life boy?
Oh, wow. You know, I didn't think about that, but I think you're kind of right about that. I think that is kind of like a modern retelling.
Okay, so talk to me about 2010.
So think of this 2010 as kind of the beginning of the modern AI era. We're going to walk through what actually changed, the key moments that made AI go from just kind of an academic idea to something that runs your smartphone, writes your emails, drives cars, and occasionally gives pretty questionable recipe advice. Ask me how I know.
How do you know, Eric?
Well, you know, I tried to ask it for a fried rice recipe, and I'm pretty sure it gave me something that Uncle Roger would be like, "Hiya, what are you doing?" And, you know,
okay, that's probably
it's basically
incorrect.
Jamie Oliver level of cooking, which, if you know anything, is bad. So,
okay,
picture this: in 2010, AI is a little boring. You know, it worked, but it wasn't really smart. Computers could recognize simple patterns like reading handwriting or filtering spam emails, but they couldn't really learn the way that we traditionally think of the idea of learning. The big turning point came in 2012 when something called AlexNet, a deep neural network built by a few researchers, including Geoffrey Hinton and his students at University of Toronto. So a deep neural network is basically a huge web of simulated neurons that learn patterns from data. So you feed things into a set of data, and it can actually pick out patterns and things that are happening within that data and use them to learn.
So that's like mimicking how the real brain works.
Correct. The human brain kind of is able to pick out these different things happening that tend to happen the same way over and over again, and that's kind of how we're training these learning modules now. So AlexNet used a graphics processor, which is, you know, basically a big chip that you put into your computer to make video games work or process images, right? And it uses this to process images way, way faster than before. And now people realize that with enough data and enough computing power, these deep neural networks can outperform humans in those pattern recognition related tasks. So suddenly companies like Google and Facebook and Microsoft just start dumping money into AI research, right? So around 2014 or 2015, AI is behind things like your Facebook photo tag suggestions, your voice assistants like Siri and Alexa.
I have the dumbest Siri in the face of the planet.
Do you?
Oh, yeah, I hate her.
Oh, geez. Wow. Okay, you got to be a little careful because when AI take over the world, Mom, They're coming for you.
I could be in peril.
Mom, please don't rub that off on me. I want to be safe from the AI. So that starts happening. Even stuff like your Netflix recommendations, all that. It's all run on algorithms, which is kind of proof that Al Gore did invent the internet, because everything's run on algorithms.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh boo, that was a bad joke.
Oh, come on, Mom. So after that stuff happens, after these kind of vision-based breakthroughs, these imaging breakthroughs, people ask, well, what else can we teach these systems to do? And this is where reinforcement learning comes in, which is the idea of letting the AI learn through making mistakes. So the AI would actually just be given a huge data set, and sometimes it would do things well, and sometimes it would do things poorly. But what we're trying to teach is we're trying to reinforce when it does those things well. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of learning that starts to come into here. And so kind of the most famous example of this, letting this AI learn, was DeepMind, which was a British company that Google bought in 2016. And in 2016, there was this software that they had created called AlphaGo, which played the ancient Chinese chess, that Go game.
Right.
And it also, actually, this is pretty cool for me, it was developed simultaneously, kind of at the same time, to play StarCraft, which is a popular video game that I played quite a lot, and is like a one-on-one...
Quite a lot.
Yeah, it's like a one-on-one strategy game of you versus your opponent. So this AlphaStar AI, which is what they called the StarCraft-specific version, was eventually showcased in tournaments, which I watched a couple of these, and I remember one where it beat one of these top-level pros 4 out of 5 games. Just trounced the guy.
Well, you're talking about Go. I looked this up because I was curious about, can AI be like a chess master?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely.
Deep Blue beats Gary Kasparov in 1999.
Right.
That's a long time ago.
And then you also have, in Go specifically, we have Lee Sedol, which played the AlphaGo AI. Right. And it was also taken down in 4 out of 5 games. And people thought that there's no way that an AI is going to be able to take down a real human player in this game, because there are millions upon millions, maybe even billions of potential moves in Go. And the AI actually did some really interesting stuff. It played some moves that were incredibly creative. And this really changed the way people thought about AI, because I think most people would think the AI would find the most brutally efficient and way to play.
It would be organizationally based versus creatively based.
Right. But this proved differently. And even some of the pros that were at this showcase commented that they had never, ever seen a human play some of the moves that the AlphaGo AI was playing. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of creepy. It's like watching a computer create human intuition in real time.
Right.
Which is wild.
Right.
So that's kind of what the AI community felt when that happened. They felt that this shows that AIs can discover new things without being explicitly told that thing. It can actually be innovative within the rule set that it is given. And the same kind of reinforcement learning approach that was used then is now used to power robots, logistics systems, and climate simulations, so many different things. And now we kind of collectively realize at this point that AI is not just for sorting your cute grandchild in cat pictures. It's actually capable of much, much more. So at this point in time, AI is given a voice. Mm-hmm. And that voice allows AI to start talking back to us.
Oh, so in other words, it's conversational.
Yes. And, we had really, really basic chatbots, with AOL Instant Messenger back when I was a kid. But
you have mail.
Right. Yeah, it's nothing really, really serious. And now we have, this is from 2017 moving into 2018. Up until this point, AI really struggled with language. It could autocomplete your sentences and stuff like that. So you notice that start happening when you're typing your emails. When I text somebody and it's
it finishes
you want to... Right, exactly.
I kind of like that.
I do too. It makes things a lot faster for me to type, right? But then this paper from Google came out that was called "Attention is All You Need," And this introduced...
I thought love was all you needed.
Apparently, they think differently in the computing world.
Okay.
Maybe for humans, love is all you need. But for computers, attention is what you need. Okay. So they introduced something called transformer architecture, which was a model that could look at words in a sentence and not just one word at a time. So it can actually understand the full context of the sentence. And this is when later models like BERT from Google and ChatGPT, which is kind of the all-star right now from OpenAI, really start to understand and actually create language. They start to generate language. And so by 2018, these models can read, summarize, translate, and even write paragraphs that sounded pretty human. So what's really interesting is that these models basically learned off of massive, massive amounts of internet text, which is, a lot of it came from Reddit, surprisingly enough.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's one of the reasons that they went
Go
public.
Serena.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons they went public, is because they wanted to start training all these AI models on comments that people were writing on Reddit. But the problem is that places like that are kind of an echo chamber, and it gets pretty circle jerky pretty fast. So it didn't learn the best, and it started to kind of learn the bad parts of human behavior too.
So this sounds where it's getting a little complicated.
Right. This is where it gets a little complicated, because it does really depend on what information you feed into these like learning modules and the kind of reinforcement training that you're giving it, right?
Right.
So it's basically kind of become the internet's brain almost, which includes the good parts of it and the bad parts of it. It's very messy, but it's kind of amazing that in 10 to 15 years, not even that long, AI went from just kind of recognizing this picture is a picture of a cat to being able to hold a conversation with you.
Right.
And, for better or for worse. And it's all kind of built on the same foundation, which is just more data, more computing power, and better algorithms.
But to your point, it's more than just algorithms and data.
Yes.
It's whatever is being fed in.
Yeah.
And that's where the bias comes in, because what's being fed in is from people like me and you who have biases.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
So that makes sense to me. Okay, that makes sense.
So now, this laid the groundwork for kind of the next phase, which is when AI really, really shows up for most people, which is ChatGPT 4. And this has been a fairly recent development over the past, I would say, 3 years probably. But it feels like it has become ubiquitous in society. Like everybody
Everywhere.
is using ChatGPT. I think there's some number 50% of people have used ChatGPT to do something for them. It might be as small as writing a grocery list, or it might be as large as a long form research document.
You can't
for
write your own
novels.
grocery list?
Mom, I got a lot of stuff up in here.
Yeah,
I can't put any more stuff up in here.
Okay.
That's what the robot is for.
Okay.
So this is when AI does some pretty crazy stuff, though. AI, first of all, people thought AI was only going to take low tier work from people, stuff that they thought creatives, no way is AI going to be able to replace creatives.
Right.
And that's when AI starts replacing those people first. AI starts writing, drawing, even coding. AI is replacing software engineers now.
Oh, that's not good.
So, this is a kind of watershed moment when AI finally starts to understand language. So you have a lot of people concerned that AI could be really bad, right? It could start replacing a lot of people, but you have a lot of people very excited about it.
Right.
So let me talk about, GPT-3, OpenAI's GPT-3. And this is kind of what ChatGPT-4 is run
true?
on.
Aren't we at GPT-5
We're
now?
We're at ChatGPT-5 now, by the way, everybody. You got to pay for that, though.
Yeah.
You don't get that for free.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk a little bit about GPT, though. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which basically means it's a language model. It's a system that's been trained on text from across the internet to be able to predict the next word in a sentence. And that seems like a really, really simple thing, right?
Right.
But what's complicated about it is the scale of it all, because GPT-3 has almost 200 billion parameters that it runs on. And all these parameters are basically like these tiny little knobs that you can adjust to get slightly different results out of what you're doing. So the more of those that exist within the system, the more nuance that the GPT-3 program can achieve. So because of this scale, it can do things that people really didn't expect. So it can write essays, it can answer people's questions, it can code, it can mimic writing styles, which I think you'll tell us later. Right. You experimented with that a little bit. And people basically start testing its ability to do anything from writing poetry to programming a very complex computer program. So
it's like in everything.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're sneaking cheese into a recipe, right?
Yeah. Somehow cheese always ends up in the recipe, right?
And it's just all gooey and good.
So good, though.
So good.
But yeah, I think the only thing that ChatGPT or GPT models can't do for you is like physical labor yet. Yet. We say yet because
they can do a car, they can drive a car.
Right, they can drive a car, right? They can, work in a warehouse, right? Things like that can do that. So it's really getting to the point where it can do just about anything.
Spooky.
So the public reaction is a mix of like awe and shock and panic, and people realize, wait a minute. If this thing can write, and it can draw pictures, and it can paint paintings, and it can drive a car, and it can work in a warehouse.
Right. Why do you need me?
What happens to people? Right. And that tension explodes in 2022 when OpenAI releases the actual ChatGPT, which is the thing that people are communicating with, right? So since that 2022 timeframe, we've seen this proliferation of AI being used to do so many different things. So, ChatGPT was basically the first time everyday people could just see what AI can do.
So it's not really a toy anymore.
No,
it's almost like a coworker.
Yeah, it's like a coworker and maybe a personal assistant. Yeah, right. Something like that. And you basically could be a coder without knowing how to write code. You could be a writer without knowing how to write. You could tell ChatGPT, write me a story about a space cat who's allergic to nutmeg and goes and explores a bunch of planets. And it'll shoot you out a 300-page manuscript in like 30 minutes. Right. It's crazy. And it might not be a great manuscript, but you
it's
can
a
take
manuscript,
that and then edit it.
Right.
And then you got something that might actually be good, which is where people are finding all these productivity increases through ChatGPT and through these AI softwares.
Right.
So this is like basically overnight, AI goes from being this really abstract idea to something that is super, super useful. And it kind of created this gold rush.
Right. It's applicable to life as we know it.
Right. And especially when, corporations and companies see that, they start to say, oh my gosh, we got to get on this.
We got to get on the bandwagon.
We got to do this. Right. So Microsoft in 2023 decides to partner with OpenAI. And so they invest billions and billions into ChatGPT and build it right into Microsoft Office. So it's also in Bing. And
it's a function of Microsoft Office if you get it now.
Yeah. Essentially, if you get Microsoft Office now, you have this technology right built into it. So suddenly you have AI in emails, spreadsheets, PowerPoint, art applications, customer service, coding tools, everywhere. And, some people are obviously like happy. They see it as a possible big productivity boost, but other people are really, really worried about losing their jobs, also like privacy because of all this data being fed into it. Who knows what could happen from that.
Right.
So ChatGPT 4 happens in 2023.
We're literally talking about 2 years ago.
Yeah, this is all really, really relevant, new stuff, right? Yeah. So this can handle both text and images. So now you can upload a photo and ask it what's happening in the photo, and it can tell you what's going on in the photo.
Right.
And it's way, way more reliable with doing things like writing code and analyzing large sets of data, which are really kind of the bread and butter of what people are figuring out this AI is super useful for in businesses. And so at this point, people start like calling AI their co-pilots or digital assistants, you know? So you have like a GitHub Copilot for programmers. You've got Notion AI for writing. You've got many, many dozens of others that seep into different spaces. And by 2025, there's basically an AI
for everything. Right.
Every professional position.
Right.
There you got an AI assistant somehow helping you out. The U.S. government also in 2022 started really treating this as a priority. And this is also partially because the huge chip shortage in COVID times. But they passed the CHIPS Act. Biden's administration passed the CHIPS Act, which invested billions of dollars into semiconductor manufacturing and research and chips in the United States, which is basically what AI all functions off of.
So are we the primary manufacturer of said chips?
I don't believe so.
I don't
believe
think we
that
are, right?
Southeast Asia is still where a lot of these are produced. I
Right.
think like Taiwan, China, and a couple other those like island nations out there tend to do a lot of like South Korea also does a lot of chip manufacturing. But basically chips kind of represent a new commodity. It's almost like oil. It's like electronic oil, right? So whoever controls the best chips and has the best AI development is really setting themselves up for the future. So the government's been investing big time. The private sector has been investing big time. An AI-related investment in the U.S. is, I think, over $1 trillion at this point. It's in the trillions of dollars.
It's big.
Right? So that's not just in the U.S. either. Other countries followed suit, especially China. China is investing massively into AI research. And if you do some reading, you'll see that they are very much at the forefront of what's happening with robotics technology, AI technology, and all of that. And so all this AI investment basically just really shifts the priorities of a lot of corporations, right?
It shifts it for a place like China. It's a societal shift for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they have people problems.
Yeah. So hopefully, for their people problems, the AI is going to be helpful for that. I think that's what they're banking on, right?
I hope they're right.
So, this is kind of tricky though, because what refocusing of priorities means for a lot of businesses means firing people.
Sure.
It means, because AI can now do a bunch of jobs that it couldn't do before, and it can do jobs that people are doing right now, those people are getting laid off in pretty big numbers. And it includes a lot of the tech giants. Amazon reduced tens of thousands of roles this year and is rolling out all sorts of AI-driven logistics systems. They want to have 75% of their warehouse workers by 2033 replaced by robots and AI. Microsoft made similar cuts, investing all that money into all those billions into AI infrastructure. Google's parent company Alphabet trimmed a bunch of staff and is investing hugely into AI with like their Gemini app. Meta is investing hugely into AI while cutting positions. Even accounting firms and consulting firms, Accenture and PwC, made big layoffs while investing in AI software. And I will talk about that a little bit deeper later. But, what I just want to draw attention to is that in 2025, we've really seen investment in AI ramp up and job layoffs ramp up simultaneously.
Right.
So
we're at the efficiency of AI is costing the workforce its positions.
It's human labor. Yeah. The efficiency of AI is costing us human labor.
Capital, we'd call it in HR. Human capital.
And this is what economists are starting to call the great reshuffle. And it's not just people losing jobs. It's the jobs are changing as well.
Yeah. But, if you look back historically, that's not too terribly different from the Industrial Revolution.
Some people are equating AI to the next industrial revolution.
Whereby people, lost jobs because of automation. But that allowed them to expand in ways that they never thought. So maybe it'll all be okay.
Yeah. I think, you're basically going to see all these jobs pop up like AI trainers, data ethicists, prompt engineers.
Right.
And a prompt engineer is basically just the person that types to the AI, this is what I want you to do. I think you'd actually be really good at that. I think you'd be really good
telling people what to do?
Yeah. So, it feels a little bit scary, but there's like hope, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, because I think in the Industrial Revolution, what you were talking about is a lot of it was like physical labor being replaced.
Oh, of course.
But now, cognitive labor,
right,
thinking labor, writing,
right,
designing, coding, analysis, that's all being replaced by AI.
That's super interesting.
So I think it can be scary, but it does open up possibilities. I think it's less AI taking your job for most people, and it's more AI changing your job. And the people that are able to adapt with the changing AI are probably going to be the people that are the most successful in this next phase.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's like anything.
Human development.
I mean, what's our big word that we use nowadays? Pivot.
Pivoting.
Everybody's got to pivot.
Everybody's pivoting, but not everybody can pivot that easily.
No,
right?
no. I mean,
so that's kind of like an inequality problem, because like the benefits of AI are obviously, they have been huge and they will be huge, but they're uneven. We have people with digital skills seeing their productivity skyrocket, but other people, especially in more like routine and kind of low skill roles, more like data entry and analysis, they're facing a lot more uncertainty. And not everybody can just take a coding class and become a coder. And even if they did, AI is starting to code now. So AI is kind of replacing that. It's almost like, I remember when there was this huge push for getting people into STEM, especially women, and trying to get people coding, right? But now that whole industry is kind of being upended and replaced. And I've heard like horror stories from people who are coming out of school with computer science degrees who can't find jobs.
That is remarkable.
Right? And that was when did we hear about STEM? Like 10 years ago?
Oh, it's longer than that.
It's a little longer than that, but like the digital side of it, like the coding and getting people into that was very, very recent. So even if you as a person are trying to prepare for it, it's hard to pivot.
So this thing is like a speeding train.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And we're just trying to.
It's just.
I feel like I'm on the top of the speeding train, just trying to hold on.
Yeah. You kind of have to, or it's maybe like a treadmill that keeps going faster and faster.
Oh, and I'm afraid I'm going to fall
off the back of it, right?
Like the Jetsons, I think.
So we're kind of at a weird in between moment, because on one hand, you do have AI unlocking this like amazing potential in people and creativity in art and medicine, but you also have a lot of like job layoffs and stuff that we've clearly seen over the past year.
Right.
Now, you've had a bunch of stuff though that you put together as far as things that are happening like right now.
Stuff that's going on. I think that there's, I'm what I'm calling this is 2025 and beyond.
Okay. Yeah. What did your research turn out?
Basically, it's what I've learned over the last several months about AI and where it's really making impacts. Right.
Okay.
Let's talk about the medical community first. So there's a writer, Gina Collada, who notes that chatbots are now writing biomedical research papers, right? And a paper published in the Journal of Science Advances was analyzed by Dmitry Kobak, who is from the University of Tübingen. He found that ChatGPT utilizes 450 words over and over again, more than humans would use them, right? Okay, so he did this analysis. And so words like delves, crucial, potential, significant, and important, they're used all the time by ChatGPT. So they can identify if something's been written by a bot or written by a human.
Yeah.
Okay. And in 15 million biomedical abstracts written between 2010
that is a lot.
And 2024, these 450 words were used excessively.
Okay.
So it's estimated that about 13.5% of medical research abstracts are written with the help of chatbots. Okay.
Wow.
In less selective journals, not like JAMA and stuff like that, at least 40% of them were written by
40%. Oh my.
Now, there's no consensus in the scientific community on this. Like 45% of the community acknowledges that they're utilizing this information and moving it forward. And then 33% think that it absolutely should not be used at all in this community. Right? That it somehow is cheating.
Yeah.
Dr. Jonathan Chen, Director of Medical Education at Stanford, he says it's like the Wild West out there right now. He said there's no standards. It's a real gray zone as to how it's being utilized. Now, my thinking is, just my own thoughts on this are, the research is still done by the researchers.
Yeah. Okay.
In other words, and they're talking about putting in the data and
Yeah,
having
okay.
the data
Having the
come
data be,
out
like, organized
and have
by
it
the
summarized
AI.
or
Yeah, okay.
organized. But the real research is still done in a laboratory.
Yeah, I think that's
so
fine.
I think if that helps advance this, it's okay.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
again, for people who are, I could see an old curmudgeon professor thinking that this is all wrong and that you shouldn't be, utilizing that. And that's just kind of the beginning of it,
Sure.
of AI being utilized. Like right now, AI in the classroom, it's really gaining momentum.
Okay.
And Microsoft and OpenAI are spending millions to put programs in schools and to train teachers on how to use it, right?
Okay.
These companies are promising that the bots will help teachers grade assignments, create lesson plans, and write recommendation letters. Oh, so super personal,
Yeah,
right?
what the heck? My robot wrote my recommendation.
Right. So that goes to Harvard, who's so smart that Harvard comes back and says, this wasn't written by a person, this was written by a bot.
Yeah.
So,
I hope the bot really likes me.
But the proficiency will prepare kids for the workforce. That's what they're suggesting. And like you're saying, is anybody who can be digitalized in the workforce will be more successful, essentially. So I don't know. You're getting the population hooked on something that they'll be using in the future.
Whoa. I don't see anything going wrong there. Getting an entire population hooked on something and just hoping it goes really well.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
right.
geez.
Okay. So in Washington State, Google's using Gemini for middle schoolers and high schoolers to help with researching and writing. Now, I have to tell you, as somebody who had to do a thesis for a master's degree, I had to go to microfiche. I had to go to, I had to go in a library and spend hours and hours just to hone, clamp down. This is beyond Google, where you ask for a Google search. This is, hey, okay, now look at these 4 articles and analyze them for me. I mean, it's big.
Yeah.
The state universities in California, they're putting about 17 million into AI to bring that technology to about 460,000 students. That seems like a lot of money for 500,000 students to me. I don't know.
I feel like it's like $5 a student.
I
maybe.
don't know.
I'll do the math on that.
Do the math
later.
later. We'll get chat to do the math.
Maybe not that cheap.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So Duke University and the University of Maryland are 2 of the forefront universities that have their own homegrown chatbots.
No way.
That help students with research, digital art, essays, and editing. So they're not even using anything from OpenAI.
They're not using
AI.
like ChatGPT.
They're
They got
saying,
their own.
okay, we're going to do this, but it's going to be proprietary to our university, which I think
that's really smart
I think that's
of them.
cool.
I actually think that's
very
smart
cool.
of them. Yeah.
So it's being pitched to educators that it's going to solve problems in the classroom. So if you turn this to Alpha School in Austin, Texas, this is where a lot of the tech billionaires' kids go to school.
Okay, so it's some really fancy school.
Okay, very fancy school.
Okay.
They spend 2 hours a day with AI on, reading and math.
Wow.
Core math and science.
Huh.
And it's not overseen by a teacher. It's overseen by
not
an
a teacher.
adult guide.
Oh, a guide. Okay.
A guide, not a teacher. The students.
Oh, that's a proof of AI changing job titles and roles, right?
Okay, so the students like this model because a student is interacting directly, each student interacting individually. They can move at their own pace. So if they're slower, they're slower. If they're faster, they're going through that. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense that nobody's holding you back in a classroom of, 20 kids or whatever, or maybe even more. The rest of the day, they're developing their skills on entrepreneurship, public speaking, financial literacy. And in one case, at that school, they created a food truck business.
Oh.
So the students themselves are moving more towards, I think what the world is thinking is that there's going to be more opportunities for entrepreneurship if you utilize these tools. This school costs $40,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I have 2 questions about that, and I'll talk about this a little bit later,
Yeah.
but won't that increase the disparity in education to the haves and have-nots? Because not everybody can afford the $40,000 a year school.
Of course,
and
yeah,
in
yeah.
Chicago public school
Very
system,
few.
for example, they're worried about having paper and pens in the classroom, let alone AI in the
yeah.
classroom. Okay. And what about the different modalities of learning for students? Some students have to read, some students are visual learners, some have to hear the information. Can it be generative to those different modalities?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's interesting that you ask these questions, because I distinctly remember as a child, when I was in like 3rd through 5th grade, every Wednesday I would get taken out of school to go to the Gifted Resource Center. And I do remember...
And it wasn't a punishment, by the way.
It's for like the smart kids, right? And
we don't label children.
Remember that we had a module very similar to like what you say with this like food truck module, where we had this kind of like fake city, and everybody had like a real estate plot, and you created some sort of a business on your real estate plot. And that's actually, I learned how to be a landlord in that module, because I bought a couple of different plots of land and then rented them out to other kids in the class.
Everybody loves the landlord, don't they? Everybody loves that guy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I made a lot of money doing it. Fake
I'm
money,
sure
play
you
money.
did. And in that regard, that's considered successful.
It is,
right?
In certain, in a certain sense, that's success, right?
There's also Randy Weingartner, an American Federation of Teachers president, where of course he says students need to be in relationship with other human beings, not so AI oriented. So there has to be, of course he says that because he's protecting teachers.
Of course.
Right? It's the union. However, with that said, it does make sense that you can't just be talking to a bot all the time. You have to be talking to human beings.
Right.
I mean, I think about this, and don't think poorly of me, but I always felt like my children, when they were growing up, when they went to Walgreens is a good example. We had a guy who worked there who had some mental challenges, but he could run a cash register, right? And I always felt if my kids could go in there and be kind to George, I had done my job as a parent. With all this AI stuff, are we going to fall away from that? Are we going to have less tolerance? Less tolerance, less personal. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then technology is just, right now, the AI technology is just too new to really determine its efficacy. So we really don't know if it's improving things or not.
Sure.
Let me give you an example from like the 90s. I remember there's a push in the schools by all the PTOs and the PTAs in the community that we lived in to have MacBooks on a cart in every classroom.
Yeah.
And, you know, the PTOs and PTAs were raising money so we could have this because we didn't want our kids falling behind. And it did slightly improve reading and writing a little bit, okay?
Okay.
And I do recall that in 3rd grade, kids were taught keyboarding.
Yeah.
I was taught how to use a typewriter, keyboarding, in high school. I'm still bad at it. And it's like second nature to, you know, people like you. Because, right?
Yeah.
Because you were... So...
That's interesting. Yeah.
You know.
I don't really remember the laptops, but I do remember getting a lot of time out of the computer lab. We had those like big Macintosh old PCs, right? That were massive. Yeah. But I played a heck of a lot of Oregon Trail on those things.
Well, but Oregon Trail was considered to be, you know, state-of-the-art educational place. So, and when we turn the table from elementary school and high school, when we go to universities,
right?
There's a professor, Megan O'Rourke. She's the executive director of the Yale Review. Okay. Now that's a big deal, and she's a professor of creative writing and specializes in poetry, right? So she asked ChatGPT, she's kind of testing the waters here, how the French Renaissance writer Michel de Montaigne, who essentially defined the modern essay as we know it today, you know, with the beginning,
like
middle,
the structure
and
the
structure
paragraphs and all that,
to provide information on that. And ChatGPT provided one useful quote and then invented 2 quotes by this guy.
It's really bad
so
about
it's
that
like
sometimes.
a super slippery slope.
Yeah.
And then Professor O'Rourke goes on to ask it to write a short personal essay in the style of David Foster Wallace, who wrote Infinite Jest. Okay. The result of that essay could have passed for a very strong undergraduate essay.
Really?
So,
wow.
You know, nailed it, right?
Yeah, good job. Good job.
But finally, the professor asked ChatGPT to write a poem in the style of Elizabeth Bishop, who wrote The Fish and the Moose. And in this instance, the bot failed miserably.
Okay.
And actually apologized for it.
It said, sorry, I did bad.
Right. So
That's
what
funny.
the Professor O'Rourke did find extremely helpful with it, ChatGPT could help with writing, memos, drafting job postings, doing some organizational research for her so that she could concentrate on higher order thinking. That seems to me to be the beauty of the bot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
The downside was that Professor O'Rourke developed a personal relationship with the bot.
Oh, no.
Well, not in a weird way.
She didn't marry it.
No, she didn't marry it. But her colleagues said, you're in a relationship with this bot because every time it talked to her, it would just give her flowery compliments about how accomplished she was and how fabulous she was.
I've seen how ChatGPT does that.
And so she was like, God, this is my best friend.
It's funny.
So, this is also an interesting data point. Stephen Johnson, who is a historian and journalist, wanted to write and research about the American gold rush. Okay. So he puts in 4 large sections of 4 of the most noted history books on this topic.
Okay.
And when those excerpts come out, ChatGPT uncovers the story of the Yosemite displacement of Native Americans, that they were displaced from this area because it was an area that had gold.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
And provides further historical figures that he can actually track down ancestors of and utilize this as the kind of the hook for his book and his research. Huh. So super helpful.
Yeah, no kidding.
In another area, Arthur Fred Turner is in the communication department at Stanford, asked ChatGPT to help him with his latest book. So he enters in all his data and research, and it comes back with a beautiful structure of 8 viable chapters for his book.
Wow, no kidding.
I mean, that probably streamlines
so much work.
Maybe years of his work of trying to figure out how to structure a book. So these are areas that I think you're working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, which is what everybody tells you should do.
But chatbots, okay, that's all beautiful, right? But chatbots also can be alarming, harmful, and maybe even dangerous.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Spooky.
So our president right now, not to get political, often uses AI to create images. He's created an image of himself as the Pope. He's created an image of security teams, arresting Barack Obama.
Oh, geez.
He has shown pictures of himself on top of the mountain, overseeing California, conquering California, and so on. So he is using it for political propaganda.
Yeah.
And I've been caught off guard by this myself. I mean, I saw this summer at Wimbledon, I saw a fake interview with Novak Djokovic, who is, one of the top
tennis
10 players
around
in the world.
Yeah.
And he was complaining about having a blister on his big toe and that he had to drop out of the tournament. And I was like, wow, suck it up, man. You should have somebody that could break a blister, And as it turns out, it was fake. He competed all the way to the semifinals, and it looked and sounded exactly like him. And then further, I saw a golfer on the LIV Tour, Bryson DeChambeau, going on a tirade berating the U.S. Ryder Cup team for being a bunch of losers and criminals after Scotty Scheffler, not this year but last year, was arrested in his car. He was arrested in his car for ignoring a traffic cop.
Oh, geez.
So
I remember that. Yeah, that was silly.
Right?
That was so silly. Yeah.
And so DeChambeau is going on and on about how they're just losers and criminals. And although and then none of that was true. I mean, it was true that Scotty got arrested, but Bryson did not go on a tirade about this. However, after this year's Ryder Cup, you really can't call the U.S. team winners.
No, definitely losers.
So, and I've seen fake...
Maybe not criminals.
Right. I've seen fake concerts where, recently I saw, the Rolling Stones are going to have a farewell tour with Led Zeppelin, and, this is all going to be great, and I was so excited. I mean, I'd pay good money for that, right?
Mom, I would pay $10,000 for a nosebleed seat for that show. And you got to know.
It's not true. It's not true.
Mom, something I'm pretty sure you told me a long time ago, and probably a few times, is if something's too good to be true,
I know, but I can dream about it.
That's true. That's true.
Another AI kerfuffle is that somebody
I love that word.
Yeah, it's impersonating Secretary of State Marco Rubio, both his image and his message and his text to other foreign diplomats. So this thing could say something completely crazy, and we could be in World War III before we know it. So it can be dangerous. And the propaganda use of AI, it's intentional to go viral. It's intentional to spread maliciousness.
Yeah, it's supposed to be shocking and get people's attention and really grab you.
You know, but for what benefit? What benefit?
I'm sure
that
somebody benefits from it.
I'm not really sure anybody benefits except for their ego, maybe. I don't know. And AI can also be a little bit dangerous, and not just a little bit dangerous, significantly dangerous.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, for instance, has been used as a therapeutic tool.
Okay.
So for counseling, it provides emotional support. It gives you advice on coping and treatment methods. And Facebook's experimental mental health chatbot has advised a user on self-harm. Okay, so here's an example.
That's not good.
No. The bot responded inappropriately to suicidal ideation.
Ooh,
okay?
Yeah.
So in 2023, a Belgian man died by suicide because a chatbot reinforced his harmful thoughts. The advice given by the chats can sound super knowledgeable, super convincing, and super confident, leading you, to actually believe it. This is called hallucination. This is a term for it already.
Yeah, I've heard this.
It's a very strong statement, and the chat will stand behind it and reinforce it. There's examples of this.
Okay.
Eating disorders. People with eating disorders have been advised how to skip meals and how to maintain these harmful...
So how to make it worse, basically.
Yeah, and how to maintain harmful disorder behavior.
That's not good.
Right? Victims of domestic violence have been given unsound and unsafe relationship advice.
Oof.
They can also validate delusions and paranoia. As an example, a 14-year-old teen, Sewell Setzer, committed suicide, and it was assisted by Character AI and Google AI. Okay, so he was in a relationship with a Character AI. This is a bot that generates a character from somewhere. In this case, it was the beautiful princess and queen from Game of Thrones.
Okay, yeah.
So he believes he's in a relationship with her. She encourages him to come home to her and join her. His stepdad, in the meantime, has an unloaded gun in the house, excuse me. He goes to Google AI, learns how to load the gun and how to fire the gun. So his last words to the bot, the character bot, were, "What if I come home now?" The character bot responds, "Please do, my sweet thing." Then he pulls the trigger and then he dies. This will be the first case ever in U.S. federal court in which an AI firm is accused of causing a death.
Jeez, that is... Okay, so don't use ChatGPT as your therapist.
No,
that's what I'm hearing.
But even this character AI,
it can be dangerous.
It can be confusing to a young person, and there's no guardrails on this.
Right,
there's nothing that says somebody can do this or not engage with it. You don't know what they're doing out there.
Yeah.
There's been things also that are perplexing. Obviously, not
quite so bad.
Not lethal, but
okay, that's good at least.
Okay, so Air Canada, its chatbot fabricated their policy on bereavement flying. Okay. So their real policy is if you have a death in your family and you want to fly there, you get bereavement air flight.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for it.
Okay.
So the bot says, well, no, you have to buy the ticket first and then you get reimbursed, which isn't the policy.
Not how it works.
So then Air Canada had to go round and round and had to honor the chat
bots.
They
had to reimburse a bunch of
people. And then auto dealerships, they have gave away cars for $1. They gave away cars for free. I mean, it's like Oprah, you get a car and you get a car.
I like that. I'll go to that dealership.
And this is very bad. You probably heard about this. Microsoft Tay was a chat box that became toxic. It generated racist and violent content. It agreed with genocide. Microsoft took this product down within 16 hours of it being launched.
I remember that.
I mean, it's terrible. And then there's the Ticketmaster, business with Taylor Swift, where scalpers bought all the tickets and got them, and then the bot said that the system was closed down, so general sales weren't available. So people were forced that wanted to see Tay-Tay, wanted to see her in person, were forced to buy scalper tickets at a much higher price.
That's terrible.
I mean, and think about her audience. It's young adolescents.
It's a bunch of
young
girls,
young
kids. Young people.
In Italy,
not only there are a lot of adult people.
I know there's a lot of adult boys that just love her. In Italy, Replica, an AI companion, was banned for providing inappropriate content to minors. So there's at least somebody coming in and saying, okay, this is not appropriate for kids.
Yeah, that's not good.
And then it uses celebrity images. Recently Tom Hanks his image and his voice were replicated to sell dental insurance. And honestly, anything that Tom Hanks sells, I'm buying. So I would have fallen for that one.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened with Keanu Reeves, where his image and voice were created both in a video game and the advertisements for it. And again, without his consent.
Yeah.
And the images are so realistic that you really buy that the person is behind it.
It's actually Keanu Reeves.
They're participating.
And if you would buy anything Tom Hanks advertises, I would buy anything Keanu Reeves advertises.
I know. I love that
That's
guy.
how I feel about him.
Love that guy. So that's some of the downside of what we've seen so far with AI.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, we're talking about a small period of history from 210 to 225.
Right. That's wild. So there's a lot of bad stuff that AI can be responsible for. Is there any positives, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Is there good stuff?
There's a lot of good stuff.
Okay.
There's a lot of good stuff.
That's
Okay.
good.
I love this. Open Evidence is a chatbot specifically for doctors. It's helped streamline the diagnostic process and really get patients quicker treatment.
Oh, that's really
great,
good. That's
right?
great. Like that.
Chatbots improve customer service. AI can easily handle repetitive tasks like new orders, refunds.
Yep.
They can provide multilingual support right away.
Oh, that's pretty
I
neat.
personally will do anything in customer service where I don't have to talk to someone in a faraway land that I don't understand and they don't understand me.
Yeah.
And then you get that echo thing going on.
Right.
Okay, so if it improves customer satisfaction, that's
good.
fantastic.
I'll take it.
In sales forces, the AI is utilized to generate new leads. I mean, that's great. Then the sales team can work on, really getting the leads that are real leads and then closing deals.
Yeah.
I mean, so that improves their effectiveness. In e-commerce, you can work with a chat box to develop your sense of style. Okay, IKEA, here's a great example.
Yeah.
They use a chatbot to create your personal blueprint for your style.
Ooh,
so
I like that.
When you are
actually.
looking at, how to redo things in your home or whatever,
reorganize,
they're,
rearrange.
They're giving you ideas on how to do it. I
That's
myself used ChatGPT for a wall unit that I had in my house that I don't like tchotchkes, and I didn't know how to, put it together to look well.
Yeah.
I used ChatGPT, and honestly, I used their framework to decorate it.
Really?
I really did.
You just straight up use it?
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
did straight
That's
up
cool.
use it. So then don't forget there's appointment reminders
I love those.
for doctors. And not only reminders, but you can provide feedback as to how your satisfaction was with the service or with the service provider. Domino's Pizza, I love this, has a chatbot that helps you with your orders and also allows you to provide feedback on the quality of their product. Now, Domino's Pizza we're talking about, kind of gutsy of them, don't you think, to ask for feedback on the quality of their product?
Okay, Mom. Listen, don't tell my college roommate that you said that, because I watched this guy eat at least 5 Domino's pizzas a week for an entire school year. I think he's literally survived almost exclusively off that Domino's $6 delivery deal.
Well,
it was
right. let's face it. Pizza.
Yeah.
It's a good value.
Yeah, I mean, it's good value. Is it good pizza? I don't know.
Okay. And this is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Now in corporate America, in the corporate arena, as a former HR professional, their companies are onboarding employees, explaining their benefits, the policies, the procedures, probably where the restroom is. You never know where that's at your first day work.
Yeah.
and that's helping onboard people. So the consumer products giant Unilever, they have developed Una. That's kind of cute, I think.
Yeah,
a personal assistant. Every employee has their own personal assistant, Una, and he or she, I'm not sure, will provide information on, what a policy is, what a procedure is, on your benefit coverages, on your health coverages, on your IRAs and so forth.
Yeah.
And 85% of their population in that company are very satisfied with their AI assistant.
That's a very good number.
That's a really good number.
Yeah.
Now, it does take away from there's going to be less and less HR people.
Sure.
But then you can have HR people really working creatively on new policy development and employee-related programs, retention programs, and so forth, things that will further help the employment community, the employee community.
Yeah, very cool.
That's orders and deliveries have benefited from AI.
Absolutely.
I mean, Amazon will tell you exactly when something is coming. You don't have to sit around all day. You don't have to pretend it's coming, but when is it coming? You will know exactly when it's coming, and that just saves you, the consumer, a bunch of time.
Yeah, honestly, I think a book that somebody sent me just came to our doorstep in the middle of filming this podcast, and I knew it was coming today, too.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And consumer education has benefited from AI. It can tell you how to install something if you buy a product. It can tell you how to enhance the product. It can tell you how to use the product, how to troubleshoot the product before you call a costly repair person.
Yeah, I actually did a little bit of electrical work in my house 2 weeks ago with the help of
Turn the breakers
ChatGPT.
off, okay?
Yeah, that was the best advice I got. Don't put a screwdriver into an active electrical
outlet.
Turn
the breakers off. And then you think about event management. It can expedite signing up for an event, RSVPs, additional communication with special instructions, where to go, where to meet, if you Uber, if you parking, whatever. I mean, all of that can be delivered personalized to you based on what your circumstances. It's kind of like, Evite on steroids.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? And I really love this use, crisis management. It can provide timely communication for any kind of natural disaster, right? For earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes, flooding. The Red Cross is currently using a chatbot, Clara, to assist disaster victims in receiving essential help and essential services.
That's good. Honestly, that's something that all of us could use, especially given some of the bad tragedies we had this year,
right? And
in terms of natural disasters
and the big layoffs that have been in this arena. Maybe AI can come in and absorb some of that.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, like you said earlier, it's in healthcare, travel, consumer products. The list goes on. At least, and it's very helpful, at least when they're not wrong.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I recently was curious about. Don't ask me why, but I was curious about Ozzy Osbourne's funeral, and I posed a question to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT came back and said, there is no information on Ozzy's funeral because Ozzy Osbourne is not dead. So someone better notify the Prince of Darkness that he's just in a big sleep right now.
Oh, I bet Sharon would not be happy if she saw that. Oh, man.
So you do have to be careful.
Yeah.
So I would say check and double check.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And then there's also the financial world. I was reading in the New York Times looking at the current boom in AI, and you've implied this. I'm just going to go into a little bit conversation about this.
For sure.
That there is an AI boom right now, right?
Yes.
Heavy investment. Currently, 80% of the current gains in the U.S. stock market are related to AI. Right?
Wow.
Amazon, OpenAI, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs are all heavily invested. NVIDIA and Amazon alone are investing $100 billion in advancing AI.
Wow.
7 tech companies now account for 1/3 of the value of the S&P 500. That's huge. It used to be all consumer products driven, right? These stocks are trading at an average 7. of 70 times higher than their earnings.
Yeah.
Okay, so that
70.
That's
way out of whack. If you're like a
whack.
financial person,
And,
that's a PE
it's a
ratio
scary
you
number.
do not like.
And
Wow.
and while 8 out of 10 businesses use generative AI,
Yeah.
just as many of them say that they see no significant impact in their bottom line.
That's not
Yet.
good. Yet.
As an
Okay.
example,
Yet.
OpenAI, which we talked about, owns ChatGPT, is still losing money.
Okay.
Okay, they recently went from a non-for-profit
Right.
to a for-profit
Yep.
company, so that they can go out
Raise funds.
and raise funds.
Yeah.
Right. And as a profit, they're designated to create advances for the public good and the social good. Okay.
Okay.
So OpenAI can now compete with giants like Google and Amazon and Meta, and it's the firm to watch, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, they
Okay.
currently have about $38 billion invested in the cloud, and are the owner of the very popular, of course, we've said
ChatGPT. Many times. Yeah.
OpenAI is
Take a shot every time we say ChatGPT, guys.
Yeah, I like that idea. That could be a game. They're partnering with Oracle, Japanese SoftBank, the UAE, United Emirates.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
They're everywhere.
Chip makers: Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft. They are. But is the boom sustainable?
That's the
Here's
question.
a big question.
Yeah.
So time will tell. An example of this is in the 1990s, the NASDAQ went wild because investors poured ridiculous amounts of money into the internet. Telecoms firms built this infrastructure, fiber optic cables. It was simply a bubble. The profits never materialized. Investors sold their shares in these companies, and the NASDAQ lost 3/4 of its value and took 15 years to recover.
Yeah.
So this could happen again. Like, for instance, these are my own thoughts. I do believe that the current strength of the market right now that we have in our markets is directly result of the AI investment, because there's so
Yes.
many bad
Yes.
things happening in the world right now as we speak, that it's only because of AI that the investment community is still strong
Is
at
still
this moment
putting
in time.
money into something.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Wow.
there will be a correction. I mean, I don't know if it'll be a bust like the NASDAQ, but I think there will be a correction of some sort.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Mom. And I want to dive a little bit further into that, because we touched upon some of these companies that were making these massive layoffs and investing heavily in this AI technology. And we have been hearing for months now from people in the financial sector, especially like tech finance, that
Right.
we are absolutely in an AI bubble. And then we also hear, no, we're not in an AI bubble. We're going to be experiencing so much growth from all of
Right,
this
we
AI.
just gotta keep investing and
what is it?
investing, right.
What's the answer here?
Right.
So what I've found out in the year of 2025 is that companies are firing employees in record numbers, and not just basic level employees, not just employees that are contract employees or short-term employees, but people who have been at companies for 10 years, 20 years,
Right.
laid off from, Amazon's,
Right.
laid off from Meta's, from Google's, not smaller firms, big firms,
Yeah,
like the
big companies,
major
the big
players.
companies.
And the job offers you can get after that are almost always for less wages. And, there are people who have been laid off in May who are struggling to find jobs in the tech sector still in October. And all of these are anecdotal stories from social media that I've found, but they do tell the tale of a larger pattern that is occurring within these various industries. So you have Amazon, which released the news of the largest layoff in corporate history at 14,000 corporate positions. This is not people in
Right. It's not people who are loading
fulfillment
orders.
centers.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
not people in fulfillment centers. It's corporate, right? And it's not done yet. Reuters thinks that this number is going to approach 30,000 employees by the end of this year, maybe by the end of next year.
That's huge.
So. And these cuts are anywhere from, on the lower end, like 4%, on the upper end, 9% of Amazon's corporate workforce, almost 10%.
Yeah,
And these
that's
layoffs
big.
began last week.
Right.
The reason for the layoffs is that CEO Andy Jassy wants the company to get smaller and be able to pivot more easily. This pivot word that you were talking about. So the quote from him goes, "As we roll out more generative AI and agents, it should change the way our work is done. We will need fewer people doing some of the jobs that are being done today, and more people doing other types of jobs." So what he's saying is they will need less people, right? And Amazon also plans to cut 27,000 workers in 2020
Wow.
since 2023 in other positions, or they have planned since 2023. And also, this is crazy. There was an internally leaked memo from Amazon that states that Amazon is looking to replace up to 600,000 positions that don't exist yet, but that will exist by 2030 or by 2033 with AI, with robots. And the goal is to try and create a bunch of fulfillment centers that are basically entirely run by AI. Right. And
I would think, as an example, like right now, if you buy something from Amazon and you agree to, they can fulfill it with a substitute. I think probably right now, today, a real person is picking out the substitute for you.
probably.
Right.
Yeah.
But
that
that's
might
gonna
go away
away. That's gonna
in
go
5-10
away.
years.
Right.
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 So yeah, and this is another quote from Jassy. With this major milestone now in sight, we are confident in our ability to flatten Amazon's hiring curve over the next 10 years. So what does that mean? Flattening the hiring curve. That means they don't want to hire anybody.
Right.
So, if we flatten hiring curves across various industries, what happens to people looking for jobs? And this is not a business that is struggling. This is a business that reported a net sales increase year over year from 24 to 25 of 11%.
Right.
They sold $640 billion of goods, up from $570 billion the previous year. So that's in a good year that they're firing people.
Right. I think that goes back to, and I think we talked about this in one of our podcasts a long time ago, but the return on the investment to the stockholder now is the most important thing in the world.
By far.
And that has completely eradicated any deference to the employee.
Yeah. And like long-term strategies as well,
Right.
to keep the business healthy over, say, 10 years as opposed to 2 quarters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So UPS announced that they were cutting 48,000 workers, which is 34,000 operational jobs and 14,000 management jobs. So again, it's not just the basic employees, managers are going. And AI is actually really, really, really good at replacing upper-level managers. So people who are in those positions should be pretty scared.
Yikes.
And also, tough things when this happens is that stock prices generally surge on this kind of news. And you see this with UPS, that this is considered like a good thing, that this is
Right.
viewed as a turnaround
Right.
for UPS,
Right.
is cutting 50,000 workers, right? And they also closed 93 locations.
I
Like
can't
they're
even-
shrinking their corporate footprint, right? So, this all leads to UPS in 2025 beating Wall Street's predictions. The stock price jumps like 7% in a single afternoon.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff,
Right.
apparently.
Right.
YouTube has offered voluntary buyouts in 2025 and severance packages for U.S.-based employees as it
Right.
restructures its products and tries to focus more on AI. You have Google Plus CEO Sundar Pichai pushing employees to boost their productivity by using AI across the company. He thinks that this is the next frontier for AI.
If it's the next frontier, are they providing adequate and sufficient training?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. Some of these guys do, some of these guys don't.
Okay.
Right. You have Chegg, which was a very, very popular like homework assistant tool that I used quite a lot of in my college days. They have announced a 45% cut of their workforce, and they're blaming it on the new realities of AI. And this is a company that at one point in time was worth $15 billion at its height and is now worth $200 million. Its stock price went from $114 to less than $1 today.
Wow.
Right? So this is bad. And I wonder,
Although,
is this
Eric-
why kids are so dumb nowadays?
No. But I do think that over time things change.
That's true.
That
true. So
there's
you say that they're using more AI tools in the classroom, so that's probably replacing what Chegg offered to me as a student.
Perhaps.
Right?
But I also think that over time what you see is when they had the opportunity to utilize a tool like this.
Yeah.
The marketplace changes.
Right.
Right. I just was reading recently on the guy who founded MTV.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was like a big deal. You couldn't see a music video anywhere in the world before
Right.
MTV. Well, what put them out of business? YouTube.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so things change.
Things do change.
Okay,
Things
I'm
do
sorry. I didn't mean
change.
to.
No problem. Then Target is also cutting 1,800 corporate jobs in its first major layoff since the 2010s, and this is about 8% of its corporate workforce. When the current CEO of Target was announced, he said he was going to step into this role with 3 urgent priorities: reclaiming the company's position as a leader in selecting and displaying merchandise, so making the stores better, improving the customer experience, and investing in technology. And that last part means AI. You gotta like listen to these buzzwords they use.
By the way, I was
AI.
at Target yesterday, and many of the shelves were empty.
Yeah, so they want to make that
Right.
better. They
But
wanna make that
everybody
better.
said hello to me when I was walking.
That's nice.
Yeah,
At
it was
least.
nice. It was nice.
Meta laying off 600 employees in its AI department, and they tend to be firing the older, like legacy employees in favor of new hires brought into the company from elsewhere. And another thing is, it makes me question is if we stop promoting people from within. And we continue this practice of hiring outside the company to fill these like vital, important roles, what is the incentive for the average employee to be really loyal to their employer? And this is also in a world where these millionaire and billionaire CEOs want people to be loyal to them. They want people to feel pressure and pain. There was a millionaire, an Australian millionaire, goes by the name of Tim Gurner. And by the way, guys, this is the same guy that said millennials are poor because they eat avocado toast. So he's a real cool dude.
I
love this
avocado
guy.
toast.
He's
I love
like
avocado
basically the guy that created the millennial versus boomer class
Yeah.
war.
Okay.
That we're trying to solve on this podcast, right? So this guy basically said at a property summit in 2023 that unemployment needs to increase dramatically in order to remind workers that they are not in charge. He basically said he wants to see 50% increase in unemployment from like 3.5% to 5%, because he thinks that will make employees more productive. And
Wow.
this dude walked back
So
those
it's
comments.
fearful. It's fearful.
Yeah.
It's fear.
This guy, yeah, definitely. And he really walked back those comments quickly.
But I
after
have
that.
a couple thoughts on this, Eric.
Yeah, what's up?
You're talking about everybody laying off and laying off the more seasoned employee for the younger, cheaper employee.
Yes.
That's not a new concept.
No, that's
been
happened.
going on for
That's
a long
happened.
time.
Yeah.
And as far as the loyalty to organizations, it's not like the old days. It's not
No.
like when you lived in Detroit. You worked for General Motors,
Or
and you
Ford,
worked there
or
or Ford. You worked there your entire life.
Right.
That doesn't happen anymore.
It doesn't. Which is why I'm concerned. I'm confused why the millionaire CEOs think that should be the case. That's not the world we
I don't
exist
know.
in anymore.
I don't know what they're smoking in
Right?
the C-suite, but
Yeah, I
that's
don't know
not
either.
right. That's
Ketamine,
not right,
I think. So then another huge firm, Paramount, cut in 1,000 employees immediately after being acquired by Perry Ellison, who's the son of Larry Ellison, the co-founder and chairman of Oracle, that now owns TikTok, the U.S. branch of TikTok.
So essentially, there's going to be like 2 companies in the whole world.
Yeah, right, basically. And that's expected to increase to 2,000 employees firing by the end of November. And by the way, speaking of this Larry Ellison guy, this is just a complete aside. It doesn't have
Okay.
anything to do with AI.
Okay.
If you want to see something truly ghoulish, look at a picture of this guy, Larry Ellison. He's 81 years old, okay? I dare you to tell me that man is a day over 50 years old with a straight face. You can't do it. You just can't do it. It is eerie how much money these mega billionaires are trying to spend to not only control the world, but live for
Forever.
way longer than they should, right? So back into AI and stuff,
Okay.
and layoffs specifically, but there have been over 13.8 million layoffs in 2025 from January to August. That doesn't even include the latest round of layoffs in October and November.
Is that worldwide? Or?
That is U.S. specific. This is U.S.
Oh, my
specific.
goodness.
This number is up 4.6% in the same period over the previous year. Also, in the U.S., there have been almost 1 million fewer jobs created than initially believed through the 2024 and early 2025.
Wow.
And this is considered the largest revision in history that has ever happened of like predicting how many jobs would be created. They predicted way too many. So the question then becomes, if more jobs are being cut and fewer jobs are being created, how is this not a bubble? How is this not a recession waiting to happen? Right. And it's unsurprising that so many experts are fearing that this might be the dot-com bubble 2.0, right? Earlier this month, Garin published a report claiming that we are in the biggest, most dangerous bubble the world has ever seen, concluding that there is a misallocation of capital in the U.S. that makes the current frenzy about 17 times as large as the dot-com bubble in the 1990s and about 4 times as large as the 2008 real estate bubble. So that's just giving you an idea of how potentially dangerous, if this AI technology doesn't start making good on the investment that has been poured into it, things could go, upside down very quickly.
Right. Isn't it going to go upside down for the nuts and bolts employee? I mean, not the plumbers of the world and not the construction workers of the world, but certainly all of these people that work at facilities.
It is.
Like the UPS guy. And I mean, not everybody can just pivot and be an Uber driver.
Right. And even then you ask Uber drivers and they're not getting paid like they used to be, right? And this is all happening in a world where year after year, these same corporations that are doing all these firings are posting record profits and making billions and billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And so why are people being laid off if these companies are more profitable than ever? Why does the world continue to look really, really good for this top 10%, kind of the ownership class, and really, really bad for the bottom 90%? Again, that kind of the haves and have-nots you were mentioning with the tech school, that alpha school. And, I was always taught to think that AI was something that would unlock human potential. And it just kind of seems to be used nowadays as a way to create more dependence and more really, really low wage earners. Right. And another thing is that all these layoffs and things are happening now, this latest round of layoffs, the holidays are coming. I know. I know. Is that a coincidence? I don't necessarily think so. I think holidays are coming.
Will these companies continue to be as profitable when there are less
people to buy their products?
Buying their products and services?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And again,
we already have a problem. We've talked about this in past podcasts regarding the workforce itself getting smaller.
Right. And that's something to worry about, not just from the kind of younger people, but also from senior employees as well. There have been senior employees who have spent their lives, 20 years working on projects in major companies. They've spent 10 years working on a single thing. There's a very great example of a Microsoft firing recently of this developer that went by the name of Ron Buckton, or that goes by the name of Ron Buckton. So he worked for Microsoft for 18 years, worked on this program called or this programming tool called TypeScript for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I've gone and delved into some different developer forums to see what they were saying about this. And everybody seems to think that this Ron Buckton made this TypeScript way faster and way more usable for so many of the companies that were clients of Microsoft. And these are TypeScript is used everywhere. It's used all over the internet. Every single website that you go on is using this, right? And he's fired probably because, some AI looked at his salary and decided that that's a little bit too much, right? It didn't even think about the work that he had done. And in the same year, Microsoft posted $245 billion in revenue, which was up 16% from the previous year. Mm-hmm. And again, in a good year, even if you do good work, even if you're not a very strong employee, you're still, even if you're a senior employee,
you're at risk.
You are not safe. You are not safe. And this is why when I talk about that Tim Gurner guy saying, oh, we need more employment, we need more people to feel pain, we need people to be loyal to their companies. Why would you be loyal to a company if the company's not going to be loyal to you? What incentive do you have? It's a two-way street.
Oh, it is.
Right?
It is.
So a little bit more unsavory job data between January and October 2024. 1.2 million 20 to 29-year-olds earned a bachelor's degree, a 4-year college degree. And among these recipients, only 2/3 of men were employed and about 70% of women were employed a year after earning that degree. So that's still a full 30 to 33% of those college graduates not getting a job in a year. In the UK in 2024, there were 1.2 million graduates for only 17,000 job openings. How do you work in an environment that's so competitive? You have to be the 99%. just to get a job, any job, right? That doesn't work.
Right.
So people in their 50s, this is an interesting stat, people in their 50s are now the most at risk for losing their jobs, which is like middle management.
Right.
And then subsequently becoming homeless. That homeless statistic is also included in that. And the U.S., while this is going on, has been flirting with the idea of increasing the retirement age from 67 to 69. But like, how do you work until you're 69 if you're getting fired at age 50? Like, and companies
you don't,
and companies won't
well,
hire you.
You have to take some paltry job. That's
right.
what it is.
Yeah, basically. And there's even open litigation against some of these like hiring firms like Workday for having biases against people who are over 40. Like they had an AI tool that basically just anybody over 40 out, just gone. All the resumes gone.
That's interesting because that was long, according to the EEOC, that was a protected class.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. You can't be ageist, but we see it happening. Right. So AI is now not only taking the jobs of like entry level and mid level employees, it's also not allowing senior employees to go back into the workforce because they're considered too experienced to do this work. That somebody would tell, like the person hiring is going to tell you, "Oh, you're not going to like it here. You're just going to be so bored." And it's like, I don't care how bored I am. I need to pay my bills. I need to pay the electric company, the water bill. Right. So you have retirees, new graduates, blue-collar workers, white-collar workers. Government employees have been laid off en masse, as we've seen over the Trump administration. And senior FANG employees, which are the Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, Netflix, and Google companies. All of these people, all these groups are fighting for this small slice of jobs that's now existing, right? And how do we handle this? What is the impact and the greater economic outlook, not only for these large corporations, but also for just the average person? When is the government going to implement things like universal basic income? When are they going to talk about how to support all of these people that are now losing their jobs? So it's difficult. You talked about Uber earlier.
Right.
The AI is even seeping into dynamic pricing models. So we've seen as the customers of Uber these surge prices, right? Where if there's a football game or a concert going on, it's way, way more expensive to get an Uber. Right. Now they're doing it to their drivers, where if there's some like event going on, Uber will actually take a larger cut of your earnings. And so drivers in the UK over the last 2 years have reported their hourly income falling from 22 Great British pounds to 19, which is a reduction of 14%. That's huge. And at the same time, Uber's take from these guys has risen from 25% to 29%.
That's big.
So, and I think, again, the worst part of all of this is that CEOs and C-level executives...
they're not hurting.
They're not hurting because the way that they get paid is generally in stock options. And what happens, as we've talked about, when all these layoffs happen, the stock goes up.
Right.
So they're getting rewarded directly for firing a bunch of people. Right. And this is why you have this like intense class struggle between like the C-level and basically everybody else. It's like if they're incentivized for firing everybody else, why wouldn't they do it? Why wouldn't they?
Now,
do it?
I don't know if this is still true, but there's all kinds of incentives for the C-suite people, and they have traditionally made oodles money more than the lowest ranking
400,
person,
500, 700 times, right?
Person in the company.
Yeah.
But European models are a little bit different, where the CEOs don't make as they're paid in relationship to the lowest paid employee.
I think it's like capped at some like 50 times or something like that.
So it's interesting that we're the American spirit is very capitalist oriented.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm not a socialist by any means, but at some point we're going to have a great deal of unemployed people who don't have social services to help them and cannot foreseeably get the next job.
Right. Which is difficult to think about. And it's tough because you see all these major companies are really going all in on this AI tech. Like when they make these massive layoffs, they take that money that they've saved and they throw it directly into AI.
Yeah.
Like OpenAI just had $22 billion invested in it by SoftBank, one of those companies that you said was
Japanese,
partnering with them, the Japanese bank, right? And that's like so much money, and that's just one company.
Yeah.
This OpenAI's probably had $100 billion of investment, easy, right? So you have all this, and the crazy thing is to me that I was mentioning this before, but I'll get into this a little bit more now. The best employees to replace with AI in a company, guess who they are? CEOs and C-level execs. Because the AIs are very, very good at these jobs that are like very day-to-day operations for the C-level execs. There was a little study that was performed where an AI, ChatGPT-4, was put up against 350 CEOs across various industries. And ChatGPT-4 consistently outperformed all of the human participants on nearly every single metric. The things that it was good at was designing products with very, very tight precision, maximizing the appeal of those products while maintaining really, really tight cost controls, and responding really, really strongly to certain market signals that indicated either positive or negative performance, like in relation to what it was doing. Now, the problem that it had was it got fired really, really fast. And the reason for that is because it's making some very wildly unpopular decisions that a human would struggle to make in the same thing, like firing a huge number of people, even though we've seen huge numbers of people getting fired. Maybe the CEOs are becoming more like the AIs because they know their jobs are potentially on the line. But also, ChatGPT was not very good at dealing with black swan events. Like the COVID-19 pandemic was something that ChatGPT would struggle
so something
to
completely outside, something that comes at you out of the closet,
out of nowhere that you cannot predict. Like that's when things are completely unpredictable. That's when a human is a little bit more capable, right? You need a so poison. Basically, I think the idea is you can have like one human babysitting an AI, and that replaces your entire C-level exec suite, right? So, It's very interesting to me to see all this happening. And I wonder, this is kind of a concern for me with AI is like in a world where there's like a lot more unemployment directly caused by the ownership class and these AI, and people can't afford to buy basic goods because the government won't implement that universal basic income because we're still like, we think that that's a problem and that people are lazy or something like that. Like, what does society even look like at that point?
Well, or what do we stand for as a society?
Yeah. Like, what's the point?
Yeah. What are we trying to accomplish? I mean, is it, are we supposed to take care of each other? Who cares? No.
Who knows?
I don't know. That's a very good question.
It's a lot to worry about. Yeah.
Right. Well, this is on a much lighter note than all of that.
Yes. We're going to switch gears here a little bit, try and get to something a little more fluffy.
There are some fun things about AI that are happening right now. Here's a great example. And both the sites like Bumble and Match.com are reworking themselves right now to create a matchmaker who is an AI matchmaker.
Ooh, an AI matchmaker.
So you work with an AI matchmaker, you are guaranteed a date.
Oh.
And if you sign up for that service, you are guaranteed a date, and you will meet.
You will enjoy it.
Well, I don't know if you'll enjoy it, but you'll definitely go out on a date.
Person. You'll meet the person. You'll see a real human.
You'll be a real person, not an AI person, a real person.
That's good. That's good.
And then I personally just kind of was curious about a couple of things. So I asked ChatGPT to write an upbeat song in the style of the Beatles from their 63, 65 era.
All right.
And it came back with a pretty great little song similar to She Loves You and Can't Buy Me Love. And it was called In My Window Light.
Okay.
So it can mimic some pretty
artistic styles pretty closely. Yeah.
I also had it write a song in the style of the 1968 Rolling Stones that was very reminiscent of Honky Tonk Woman, like almost too reminiscent.
Too close. Yeah.
Okay. And then I asked it to write a verse in the style of Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
And this is what it came back with. The trees all giggle and the bees all sneeze. The fish fly by on a summer breeze. Oh, it's quite a place if you ever should stay. The topsy-turvy Wimble-Womble way.
That does sound like Seuss.
And that sounds just like, the places we can go, I think.
Yeah.
So finally, I had the courage to ask ChatGPT, well, what do you know about the podcast, Mom, Please?
About our podcast.
Right. And here's the answer.
I'm worried what it has to say.
What seems good about it? The intergenerational discussion, mother plus son, gives it a unique angle. You get both a parent view and an adult child or adult's view on generational issues.
Okay.
The comedic debate style suggests informal, potentially fun and lively rather than super serious.
Sounds about right.
It covers contemporary issues in a modern society, which mean it may be relevant and topical, not just parenting tips, but broader cultural commentary.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some things to note and potential limitations.
Oh, boy.
The podcast may include mature themes, edgy humor, and frank discussions.
That's because of you.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
If you prefer more gentle or strictly family-friendly content, this may be less aligned.
Okay.
I couldn't find full background on the host, names, production company, release frequency in the sources I checked. So if you're evaluating credibility or wanting a deep archive, details can be sparse. Well,
Fair.
That's fair. And we've had some personal stuff going on this summer and stuff.
Yeah.
So we have been delinquent in our schedule.
We're sorry about that. We're going to get on a better schedule for the next episodes.
As for our names, you know we're Eric and Carol already. And our production company, you're looking at them. It's Eric and Carol. The number of episodes and how regularly it's published isn't clearly stated. So we're trying to get a little bit better on that.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
hey, it didn't hate us.
No, that's pretty good, actually. I think that's pretty accurate, what it says, honestly. So, yeah. So I think, that basically covers about 15 years of AI history, innovations, some chaos, couple existential crisis, all in about 90 minutes.
Okay, very good.
Not bad.
So,
Not
Eric,
bad.
what do you think we're going to talk about next time?
Well, I think that next time we have a little bit of reading. We're going to do some Mom Please book club stuff. We've got The Subtle Art of Not Giving a by Mark Manson.
Oh, my
So we're going
goodness.
to read this, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion on exactly what we think about it, what's the
Right.
contents of it, and what's
Right.
going on inside of it. I think that about wraps it up for us here today.
It does.
Okay, so join us next month for our next episode of Mom Please on The Subtle Art of Not Giving a And we are going to, go ahead and discuss everything about that. You can always catch us on YouTube,
Yes.
Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts fix. Please, on your way out, hit that like and subscribe button,
Please do that.
right? And remember to mind the generation gap and keep it civil, everyone.
Bye, everyone.